Hey, we are being joined today by Pennington. Really excited to finally get a chance to sit down and talk with Pennington here. We've been working on this for a while and kind of just showing some support for one another here for the last few years. So welcome, man. How's everything going?
Dude, yeah, about time. This is long overdue, and things are going good. Just been staying busy, man. Looks like you have been too.
Trying to, man, trying to keep up with life and all the curveballs that it throws, and it's fun. We both talk about being parents and being busy throughout the day with work and raising kids, and it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, but it's kind of it gives us that motivation to get through the day
Well, it doesn't stop, man. You know what I
for
mean? And
sure.
that's the thing about being a husband or being a dad is that like there isn't any time off from that. You can't. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So,
yeah,
like you said, I mean that stuff is why we do all of this, and so that is the thing that has to come first as far as getting your attention. And um, I forget it. I forget that sometimes, man, and that's when I start realizing that my life balance is a little off. You know what I mean? You always have to go back to those core things, and family is being at the top of that list, no doubt, for sure.
for sure. Yeah, and I know you've been a big advocate, through your music and social media platforms with mental health. I noticed recently with your social media accounts, you kind of wiped everything clean and started fresh. So is that any type of indication for for life changes or changes with the career or your music path? What's that all about?
Yeah, man, I don't know. I just there was one night that I got on and it was the complete opposite intention of doing any of this, man. I got on my Instagram and I was like, all right, I'm gonna archive reels that maybe have under 10,000 plays or something, you know. So I start like going on and I start archiving and I just couldn't quit archiving, dude. I was just like, and it finally I was like, I'm wiping this whole thing clean. And it was almost like it wasn't even me doing it, man. But like I I don't know, man. I mean, the thing for me is I started looking at the way that it was making me feel by looking at those videos. And I was, it's that whole I'm getting high on likes thing. Like I'm looking to see how many people like this thing. I've how many it's like your value gets put in that. But then you also for me it was just like it just felt a lot of it just felt like it wasn't authentic. You know what I mean? And I feel like people have a really strong bullshit meter and they also have I mean people are dumb but people are really smart at the same time too, you know what I'm saying? And so I don't know, man. I just I get tired of doing the lip syncing videos and I'm 36 years old. I feel like sometimes I'm trying to play this like young man's game, but really um I've got a lot more to offer than just lip syncing trying to promote my song, man. I've been doing this for a long time and I have a lot of things I want to talk about in my music, but I have a lot of conversations I want to have about music and the way that things um, have either been hard for me or things that I've found that have been a little easier on this path, man, and on this journey. So that's the kind of content that I want to start posting kind of going forward. It's just just a little bit more me, a little bit more real stuff, and something that I don't dread posting. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
mean, with everything you've been through throughout your career, man, definitely don't sell yourself short. I know it's hard when you get wrapped up in the social media consumption, kind of not paying attention to the views and the likes and all those things. So, man, good for you for putting yourself first. You mentioned, some of those things that you go through. I think with you as an artist, um, lyrical content is a big thing, and I think a lot of that probably comes from your beginnings. I mean, you started, I believe, as a rapper, and kind of had that
Yeah.
that background. So, I guess talk to us a little bit about, if that plays into, your style now and kind of how that influences, your mindset when it goes into writing sessions or whatever it is.
Yeah, man. So when I was coming up, it was I thought that I was going to be a famous rapper when I like grew up, or really, so my brother and me and just a bunch of our friends in high school, we had started we started a rap group, and Tyler Hubbard from Florida Georgia Line was actually a part of that kind of later on in high school, and we ended up making a bunch of songs and stuff together. But yeah, man, I mean, that was something that I've gone through these phases, and it was like rap was the longest one that I had, and then I really got into like the indie rock thing in not high school, college, and really got into like Kings of Leon and Jeff Buckley and more like psychedelic folk kind of music, and then it wound back up like kind of over in country, and where I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here. I really enjoy writing these types of songs. I'd ended up getting a deal over at Tree Vibes with FGL's publishing company at the time, and really kind of like learning how this Nashville style co-write happened at that time. And what I started realizing though is that the way that we were writing wasn't much different than the way that we were writing coming up, and like where we would meet up after school, and I'd be making a beat and we'd all be like kind of writing like right there in the room. And that's it was just more of a dumbed down version of what happens in a lot of these co-writes in Nashville. um, and for the longest time, man, I mean, I wanted to try to leave that rap background behind me and just focus on country. Like I get like that sometimes where I start, um, if I get my mind on something, I almost obsess about it until the point that I like feel like I'm starting to perfect it, which I can never perfect. This craft of songwriting, there's always something to work on. But starting to do my artist thing, man, I just realized how much of a part of me this hip hop thing was coming up, and it just felt so natural. And I'm just in this like place of everything belongs, man. You know what I mean? Like it's such an exciting time for music, and such an exciting time for country music where genres can blend, and they're crossing over a lot more stylistically, and you're able to really sort of make something unique, man. And so if it's anything that my artist project has showed me is that there's a lot of room to make something unique. And I think that me focusing on my songs has even helped me in other co-writes, going in and like looking at it from a little bit of a different angle than I was when I was like, okay, we've got to write a country song today. It was like kind of like, there's that freedom in sort of getting rid of those boundaries a little bit.
Yeah, and so you mentioned kind of shifting gears from that, that songwriter mentality to now you're trying to make it out there as an artist. So like how do you transition that way? Like do you have to, because you're the type of person that just kind of puts it all out there for everybody to see, and with a different style, you know what I mean? Is it like uncomfortable kind of making that transition and putting yourself out there in the spotlight for people to see who you really are?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just growth like anything else. I mean, you're not going to be good at it the second that you start. I mean, and some people may have that natural ability. I never have. I've always had to really work at trying to find comfort in whatever it is that I'm doing, but then also realizing at the point where things start getting to feel too comfortable that I'm not growing anymore. So I've never really been comfortable, um, because I do want to keep growing. But yeah, man, it was totally weird, I think, to start off with going into the artist thing. And I'd seen enough people do it. You know what I mean? I'd seen like Brandon Davis and Andrew Jannakos and Tyler. I watched Walker's career like re-explode into this thing, and watching like all of those guys, the way that they treat their social media, the way they talk into a camera, like um, I've seen them grow. You know what I mean? It can be an awkward thing, especially when you're doing like TikTok lives or Instagram lives or something like that, where you don't see anybody on the other end of a camera, but there's a ton of people there, or how many ever it says on your count. But yeah, I just looked at a lot of that stuff as I'm not good at this yet, but I will be. You know what I mean? If I keep doing it, not taking myself too seriously, but um, I think that's one of the other reasons I got rid of a lot of my social media is that I did start taking that a little too seriously. I was looking at the numbers a lot, trying to figure out, okay, well, I'm not excited about having to post something today, but I know that I have to post something today because the algorithm tells me that I have to post something every day. And it's like, come on, man. Like, I just want to make music. I want to have relationships with the people that that listen to my music and the people that I'm collaborating, making music with. And it just becomes exhausting. But there's a lot of growth in that too, man. You know what I mean? I can't say that it's a bad thing because it's getting me to this point of a realization. Hey, I don't have a healthy relationship with this. How do I make this look a little different and, keep my sanity and continue to grow? So it's uncomfortable taking everything down. You know what I'm saying? It's comfort
Yeah.
is if you're gonna do this, man, that's not a word that even you need to be either. Yeah, you're not gonna find it here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned some of the people you put yourself around and seeing the successes that they've had and kind of how they've gotten there. So definitely, good people to look up to for sure. You mentioned Walker Hayes not too long ago. You actually had a song that you wrote with Walker Hayes and Andrew Jannakos. So how did that all come about? How did you guys come up with just the three of you to get together to write a song, and how did that idea come
Yeah.
about?
So Janakis was he didn't have a record deal at the time, didn't have a publishing deal. He had gone too soon that just exploded on TikTok. And so he was getting all of these publishing companies and record companies that wanted a piece of what he had going on. So he had a lot of publishers that were setting him up with rights, just sort of as like these these rights of saying, hey, come write with some of our people. We'll see if you like them. Maybe we can talk about a publishing deal. But Andrew was bringing me in on like all of these rights, man. Like he was like, hey, my boy Pennington has got tracks. Like, if you're gonna put me with that person, put him with us too. So it was like, damn, homie, like thanks, bro. Like that, that's really cool. So I spent a couple of weeks up in Nashville just bouncing around. Sometimes we would do like two in a day, bouncing around with all these different people. And so we had one with Walker set up that this was pre fancy, like, and we thought because Andrew was the one that had the most traction at the time that we were going to be writing a song for him. And yeah, man. So we ended up writing Stay in School that day, which ended up being a little bit more of like a Walker style song. But I waited like maybe a year and a half or so to see if he was going to cut that. And he didn't. And so I asked them if I could do it because I'd started kind of messing with it. And they were both really cool with it. And it was just a good way for me to kind of get things kicked off with my artist project. You know what I mean? I definitely think there's an overlap on style between me and Walker, but I don't think it's the same. Like, I think that there's certain things that he does that it's very, very him, and there's certain things that I'll do that aren't him at all. But there's definitely an overlap there, and it made so much sense, man, at the time for me to try to do something with that song.
Yeah, it's funny. I definitely hear his influence on the Stay in School track. So that's cool. And you mentioned Andrew Jannakos. I know you've also worked pretty closely with Brandon Davis. A lot of stuff happening lately with Jess Lee. Also, your friend Sam Coon. So, what's going on with those guys? Anything in the works? Anything we should look out for when it comes to those other artists?
Yeah, Sam Coon just put out an EP. I produced 3 of the 4 songs that are on there. I've got a feature on that record. It's a song called "He Ain't There." It was my first feature, so I thought that was pretty cool. Brandon Davis actually has an album coming out that I want to say the beginning of September, and you may know the date better than I do, but I know that he said something about that the other day, and I've got 2 on there that I co-wrote and produced, and I'm super Excited about those because they've been sitting around for a while. One song's called Mixtape in the Radio, and the other one is called Don't Hold Me to It, which Don't Hold Me to It. I love it, man. I had Philip Bowen, the TikTok fiddle guy that is I had him play on it. He's been on America's Got Talent here recently. I had Kurt Ozan from he's the dobro pedal steel player for Luke Combs. I had him playing on it. I had Alex Wright, Nathan Keeterly playing on that too. Well, no, I think I may have had Patrick Stevens play on that one. But anyway, lots of great players on this song. But then I had Jada Dreyer sing background vocals on the track too, man, which just like really, oh man, it was like in my head as soon as I heard it, I was like, I've got to get Jada on this. And I'd never met her before. I've been a big fan of her. So, I reached out to ask her if she would do it. She said yes. So it was just really cool recording that with her, bouncing that session kind of around all these different great players and stuff. But I'm so excited about that record, man. I've got a few more coming out with Andrew. I don't know release dates, but I know that I've got at least three more coming out with him here pretty soon. And then I've got my second feature with ever with Jess Lee and Ryan Robinette coming up. They had a song called Wind Down, and it was just it's a killer song, and they just like sent it to me and they said, hey, would you want to put a verse on this? And so I said, heck yeah. So I ended up doing that and shooting that over to them, and just heard the master for that like 2 days ago, and it sounds killer, man. So there's a lot of really, really cool stuff coming up.
Man, that's awesome. And you got the merch line going on too. I know I got a T-shirt that unfortunately really only had to try on once, and aside from that, was just quickly stolen by my wife, just because of how
Man,
soft and comfortable it is. So,
so
check
soft.
out Pennington's merch store. Some cool stuff there. But go ahead and take a second before we wrap. You want to plug your socials and tell people where they can hear your music and stream your music.
Yeah, so it's just Pennington. If you're looking on Spotify and Apple and Pandora, Amazon, all of that. But my socials are Music by Penn. If you look at that up on any of the socials, you will find it. Some of them are Music by Pennington, but if you just type in Music by Penn, you'll find me. You'll see my big old ugly mug up in that picture. So just click on it if you're not if you're feeling charitable, man.
Well, I'm sure this isn't going to be the last of Pennington that we hear. Really appreciate the time today, man. Thanks again for talking to us, and good luck with everything you got coming up. I'm sure we'll probably be in touch soon.
Bro, thank you so much, man. This was a blast. We'll do it again.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.
All right, bro. You too.